Welcome to Business Prowess with Rafael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifu Rafael is the founder of 5 Unique Shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dared to desire.
Dr. Andrea, happy Friday. How are you today? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I wanted people to see if they could read lips. I am excited because we're going to talk about the business of business and business relationships and growth. And this is always such a fascinating topic on people's different ideas because, relationships are relationships because they're with people and people are people.
I got to tell you, I agree with you, but to me, business is really not business unless you have people involved. Right?
That's true.
Because usually electronics don't do business with each other, right?
That is true. Yeah.
Or machinery. So people are what's needed. And we have 2 exceptional people who are going to talk to us about
absolutely.
The business of relationships and growth. Why don't we go ahead and bring them on? We have Tom and Terry. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Tom, Andrea, Sifu. Thank you for having me. Such an honor.
Absolutely.
Happy to have you as well.
So when you hear the topic of business and relationships, what does it do for you? How does that come across in your mind? Either one of you can take it, or Dr. Andrea, anybody.
I'll start.
Sure.
If that's okay.
Of course.
Yeah. Spending many years in advertising scales, you really have to learn the business of relationships, because if you don't have relationships, you basically don't have business. And I am very honored and proud to say that I built such incredible relationships in my world of business that people would call and say, hey, I want to work with Terry, because I went against what the company wanted to what I wanted. And I was honest. I had integrity, and nobody was ever going to take that away from me. And the relationships I built when I left corporate to start my own rep company, that came back to tenfold. And then, of course, moving on to coaching, you can't be a good coach and not have relationships.
That's for sure.
So it's tantamount, I think, to anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that you definitely, when you went from one business to the other, sometimes even those connections that you had prior allowed you to even scale your business. Would you mind talking about that?
Going from sales to coaching?
Sure.
I don't think people understand that the minute you show up, you're in a relationship with whomever is in front of you.
Right.
And from sales, I learned the ins and outs of how to be good at what I did, how to get people, how to get people's attention. And it was because of the principles and the core values that I inherently had that allowed me to thrive in my sales business and certainly in my coaching business, because a client, if they don't think you're trustworthy or have integrity, they are not going to come into the circle that you provide of safety.
Mm-hmm.
And even moving forward into podcasting, into what, ever I'm doing, it's the same. There's nothing magical about it.
I think there is magic
Well,
behind it. It's the magic of connections, right?
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Tom, I love to get your idea.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. And I would concur with everything that Terry had to say about the transitions that you make into different businesses. I think the power of relationships and the necessity of relationships really came through to me in three distinct ways, three very distinct businesses, if you will. I was first involved in county government back when I graduated from college and became an executive director pretty quickly due to some circumstances. And I think when you're a young person dealing with largely older people, senior people, county boards, administrators, et cetera, you learn pretty quickly that relationships that are built on trust, built on integrity, built on having perspective and other qualities are essential. And especially when you're dealing with the public. The second way that it came home to me is I spent a lot of time, like Terry apparently has, in the advertising business. I was on the agency side, and we had a lot of retail clients, big companies. And one of the things my partners said very frequently was that the advertising business is very unique because the day you win a client is the day you begin to lose them. Mm. And that is because it is so image oriented, so transactional. Everybody's got a better slogan. You can get a pitch if you want it. And he emphasized to people, he said, that is different than if you're a banker or a lawyer or an accountant or an insurance professional, because the transitions don't take place as rapidly and they're not based on image. So I always took that to heart. The essential, if you're going to have a long-term relationship with a client in the ad business, you've got to have relationships. You've got to have strong relationships, and you got to know where the bodies are buried. And I think in the third instance for me was one when I went into my own consulting business. I was convinced that I would be an ad and marketing guy, right? That's what I was doing. The world saw me differently. And my very first client was referred to me by a banker who said, this company's in trouble. You need to fix them or we're going to yank the loan. And I had to go into this client and pitch myself as a turnaround guy or a restructure guy. And the banker kept telling me, I know you well enough to know you can do it. You know what to look at, what tea leaves to read and so forth. So establishing that trust and becoming known as someone that you weren't before, I think takes a lot of, internal fortitude, but it also takes strong relationships of people that are sharing with you some of the qualities they think you already had to be able to do this kind of work. And that's where I spent pretty much the last couple of decades of my career, was as a turnaround guy when I was convinced I was just an ad and marketing schlep. So
it's very interesting when you talked about it's transactional, because those relationships were based on money. How much money can you save me compared to the next person? And I understand that. And even though I worked in different industries, every time that we had to deal with something like that, even in the architectural interior design industry, it was about who has the better design, who has the better winning bid, if you will. Mm-hmm. And there was no they're going to trust what you've been able to do in the past, but they're basing everything truly on what you could do for them now.
Yep.
Dr. Andrea, I'd love to get your insights on this, because Dr. Andrea has several businesses as well, and some of her clients have multiple. I could keep going for days. Businesses. So, Dr. Andrea, I'd love to get your insights.
Thank you for that. It was interesting as I was listening. I was sharing, by the way, some people, I'll tell our clients, some people don't realize when I'm looking down, I'm texting and letting people know the show is on. I'm writing captions. I'm sharing it different places. So people don't always realize behind the scenes what else happens on a podcast. And that is building relationships with other people online so that we can be sharing the message and the information to other people. Because I have multiple businesses where I'm working with other people and their businesses and their relationships. It's been interesting over the years how some people, I've had clients in the past who've been very self-focused. And those clients, when I would talk about long-term relationships, they'd go, nah, I'll just get new relationships. And it was such an interesting situation. And I couldn't ever, at first, when I was younger, I allowed those things to happen. But later in life, as soon as I would hear stuff like that, I'm like, I'm out, so I would not want to be in that relationship because I didn't want to promote people who didn't care about people and didn't want to have long-term relationships and thought people could just be replaced. Because to me, that's not how life works. And over time, now that I attract really amazing clients and work with amazing, wonderful people, I want them to have that ability to think of the relationship deeper and longer, because the more that you care about people and their heart and their soul and their life, even beyond their business, the better that relationship can be, which will serve all of you, including mankind. I'm really big on that with relationships. And if my relationship with you is just superficial, then I'm okay not pushing it, because I'll reach and I'll push and I'll reach out to people. But eventually I've come to the age where I am putting so much energy into trying to be friends with you and you're not being reciprocal in that, then I will allow you to fade to the edges of that. I still catch up once or twice a year because that's just me. I figure you might be in a, just in a bad place or something, but it's got to be reciprocal. Has to be.
So you will ghost us if we don't respond to your emails in a timely manner.
I'm not emails, because I'm not an email girl, but like to real conversations. I'm phone calls and text messages and stuff that if you have disappeared and I can't get your attention, I will check on you and say, hey, I just want to make sure you're okay or things are all right. And if I'm still not hearing from you, I might, do a welfare check on you, get somebody else to check on you. But, and then I'm at the point now where I'm going to start letting people know, hey, I've reached out to you several times. I care about you. I'd like to maintain this relationship. If there's something I don't know that I need to know, let me in and let me know. Or if you just need space because you're in a weird space and you don't want to be contacted right now, or if you just really like me contacting you and you just want to know that I'm there, but you're not going to respond to me, tell me, because I just want to be very transparent with people. It's just been an easier way of life right now. And I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if it's a self-worth. I finally have my own self-worth, where before I was such a people pleaser, so things change. What do you guys think?
Things do change, right? And it's how we evolve. And you talked about with age, when certain things come with age. And I think it's, we just don't want the BS anymore at a certain point in our lives, right? Because business is business, but if you are not going to reciprocate, if you will, someone else will. So at one point, it does come into relationships But another time, it kind of comes into quality of relationships. Because who do I want to do business with? And when I realized that many, many years ago, I have the way I do business now is if I don't like you, we're not doing business. I don't care how much money you throw at me. Right. And people are like, wow, that person really wants to do business with you. I said, yeah, but something's not sitting right. Right. The way they treat other people, the way they behave in public, or there's something that's fishy for me. And as much as I like fish, I just don't like smelling it.
Rafael, I would not counter what you said. I would just offer a different perspective.
Absolutely.
I think we're at a crossroads almost in business right now, especially with the younger generations. And I say that because the four of us here, I'm going to guess, are all over 50, and we have some entrenched mindsets that were beneficial to us. And I think one of those is doing business with people you like. I think the younger generations now are coining phrases like workplace ghosting. They're coining phrases like quiet quitting. They're coining phrases like bare minimum Mondays. And business has become a very transactional thing. What can you do for me? What can I do for you? And I think we're seeing the results of some of that in the statistics that you can see. Failed relationships are an $8 trillion problem in businesses worldwide. People who are in bad relationships are 37% more likely to quit abruptly. They're 63% more likely to be absenteeism problems. And you look at American families, and you and I talked about this once offline. You look at the American family and you say, here we are in the richest, most powerful, most democratic society in history. And yet our children are 3 times more likely to grow up in a single parent household than the worldwide average. So it tells you that marriage is even becoming transactional. I think that's a situation that needs to be rectified. And I would say for those of us who are over 50 on this call, on this podcast, that's a real call to action to our younger people, our children, our grandchildren, et cetera, to say, we need foundational relationships. Everything that happened in the 1960s was not a bad thing. There were many good things back then, and we need to get more of that, or we are going to become more transactional, more situational, and we're going to become lonelier, and it's happening already. I think we need to stem that tide.
You know what winds up happening, and I love the statistics that you gave us, because when we think about failed relationships, that's feeding someone else, because everybody's going to go and talk to their therapist. So it's going to give someone else business. So failed relationships are causing business relationships with someone else that you may not necessarily want to pay the money to, but because you didn't know how to handle the relationship, now you have to go talk about it. Right? That's my view, because you're right. There's a lot of failed marriages, and I believe a business is truly a marriage. A great business is a marriage, but we forget that. We forget to come in and say, "Hey, how are you today? How's your day going? How was your weekend? It's coming, the weekend. What are you doing? Oh, are we working this weekend?" But we come in sometimes angry. I have to show up on Monday. So you're right. A lot of people are saying, you know what? I'm just going to do the limited amount that I have to do. And then nobody's putting in the extra work. There was a post that I saw about somebody that is the new and upcoming billionaire young lady. And her thing was that she said that we need to be working 90 hours a week in order to sustain what we really want to accomplish. But that doesn't work for everybody when everybody's looking at a 4-day work week, right? So, and some people like this guy over here, I don't even know if I work, right? But when I grow up, I'm going to get a job. I promise.
That whole idea of, putting 90 hours now, like me, I work all the time. So, and it's because I love it. I don't even, at 3:00 last night, I was like, oh, I should probably go to bed. And it was because I was excited about something that I was doing. And so I was doing it. But at the same time, if you are putting in 90 hours in a business, chances are your relationships are suffering. Or you're likely putting more, spending more time in your relationship with your CFO or your technology person than you are maybe the people in your personal life. So there has to be a balance as well. Now, I get it. If she's on striving for a goal to make $1 billion, and maybe it's for a certain period of time, then I totally get it. There are times in your life where, I know there's been times in my life where this spring I was gone for 45 days, and I told my family, I'm doing this so that I have more time later. So that I can give up other things. So I'm making this commitment for this, for that. And so when you have other people and they know about it, it certainly is a different shift or a change than when you keep doing it and you never stop. And I used to be a workaholic. It affected my relationships all the way around.
And sometimes people work a lot because they don't want to deal with other things.
You mean relationships?
or whatever is going on with them. They use work. I mean, I've had clients that work a lot because that's their value. That's how they see themselves, that I must be valuable and worthy if I spend 60 or 70 hours a week working. Everyone's going to love me, which is their issue.
Right.
Or it's, I'm putting that time in and I don't have to deal with other parts of my life. Now, I'm not saying everybody.
Right.
But I'm saying that I had to put something together for my CLA talk, which I had no idea I needed to put together. I spent 5 days putting this together. It needed to get out. I had extra time. And since my husband of 42 years is my tech person and my business helper, that's how we spent our time. I did not want to do that. However, I knew what needed to get done. So there's many ways that everyone can look at working that many hours. You love it, you love doing it, and that's great. And there are many, many others. And are you doing it to avoid something or to make yourself look valuable and worthy, which is not a way to get valued and worthy?
Absolutely.
So
I think a lot of the I think a lot of the excessive work hours come from people who are not being honest and transparent with each other in a lot of cases too. If you said, as Dr. Andrea said, if you said to someone, I'm doing something for a period of time in order to get somewhere else, to bring us somewhere else, to help us get somewhere else, I think that's one thing. I think if you're just repetitively going into the office for 6 hours on Saturday, you spend 10 hours there Monday through Friday, you bring work home with you, that's an avoidance technique. And I think it's a lack of honesty and transparency in the relationship itself.
Or with the person.
Exactly.
So when we talk about the dynamics of work-life balance, because work should not be life. There's a difference. You got to live your life, right? So many people who understand only work and they retire, what do? They're lost. They're lost. And all of a sudden they sit down and watch television. hours on end, and they all of a sudden they're not moving like they used to, and they start having, you know, watching television and eating, and then doing nothing, no movement, and then all of a sudden the only appointments that they're looking forward to is the
A
ones that
doctor's.
are doctor's appointments, right? And I had somebody not too long ago ask me, so when are you retiring? I said, retire? Me? I said, never happening. And then he goes, well, I'm retired and I'm loving it. And 3 weeks later, he had a heart attack because he stopped moving. He stopped moving. He lost everything he had. Now, thank God he came out of it on the bright side. And now he said, you know, I can't do what I did when I retired, which was nothing. Now he's constantly moving. He's doing things. And when we look at the relationship of growth, it's not just business, because family life, I believe, is also business life. So if we treat marriage the same way we treat business, we'll be successful in both. That's just my opinion.
I think that when people work, they have an identity. They know what they do. And then when that ends for them, whatever the reason, they've lost that identity and they've lost a purpose in life. So people say to me at 82,
years young,
when are you going to retire?
Yeah.
Would be a natural thing. And my answer is never. Never. I'm still leveling up. I'm still doing. I still have a purpose. And I think, and one of the things I work with people on is embracing ageism and what to do and how to move forward and how to create purpose for themselves, because you don't have to follow societal norms and retire at 65 years old or whatever it is. You can go on and work and do other things and not let your dreams and goals fall to the cutting room floor.
Right.
Because I'm planning to live a very long life. And, you know, now I'm leveling up for speaking. So I think personally, my philosophy, you have to have a purpose in life. And, you know, whatever that next step might be.
Yeah, I love it. I love the fact that you decided at 60, when most people want to retire, you said, oh, I'm changing careers. And now you've been doing this for 22 years. And, you know, congratulations on that.
And I started a podcast, which is in the top 1.5% globally at 78.
Beautiful.
So,
and you're joining us. I'm going to bring this to the stage. You're joining us in New York City. We're having a New York City experience on September 14th. And you were there on July 20th, but you were not feeling well.
No.
But you did something that's really remarkable. And you said, I'm going to show up and I'm going to make connections with some people. And then there were some people that you were not able to connect with because you were not feeling all that well. You reached out to me and said, hey, what's their name? I want to connect with them. What's this one? What's that one? And I love the fact that you were looking to still make the connections, even though you were not feeling well.
No.
And so many people who are feeling well are making excuses.
I live in New York City, so I was really looking forward to going. And I was shaking. I didn't feel well, but I said, I have got to go. There are people there I know that I really, really want to connect with. And there were other people that I connected with, even though I had to sit most of the time. But I showed up. And I think part of purpose, part of commitment is showing up. Now, if you're on your deathbed or, you know,
It's really
I
different.
mean, I had a burst appendix. I was in the ambulance going to the hospital because I never thought I had an appendix until my doctor said, get yourself to the ambulance. You are having an appendix. In the ambulance, I was calling people I had on my calendar to talk to, saying, by the way, I'm in the ambulance going to the hospital. I don't think I'll be talking to you. And that was a scary experience for me. But I think that part of commitment is keeping a commitment if you can.
Well, that shows your vibrance, right? And look, you're drinking water. That talks about being healthy as well. Tom, when you're listening to Terry, 82 years young, she's vibrant, she's doing things, she's going places. The other day I said to her, hey, want to catch up for lunch? She goes, no, I'm in the Poconos, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. She's always doing something. So you know that this young lady is going to live way over 100. And I'm even going to have you at my 100th birthday party, Terry.
That might not happen.
It's going to happen, right? You got to just, you know it. What are your thoughts, Tom?
Well, my thoughts are, first of all, I'm amazed that you're 82. I'm 71. I go to the gym 4 times a week. I try to walk 25 to 30 miles a week. And I'm very blessed with good genes and not many bad habits. So I think that's a key, you know. But kudos to you, Terry. That's amazing. 82 is when my parents both passed away years ago, and you know, I hope I outlive them and all of that. I think that, you know, when it comes to longevity, it's not a story to me. It never has been a story to me of quantity, you know, saying I'm 82 or 71 or 79 or 97 or whatever. It's essential to have the quality. And you spoke about that, Rafael, with people who retire and have no sense of purpose or meaning after they're out of business. I think that's incredibly sad that this is a person who has spent their entire life in a career, and they allowed themselves to only be defined as an attorney or an insurance agent or a quality control manager. You know, what happened to the aspect of being a coach, you know, a youth basketball coach? What happened to being involved at your local church? What happened to being involved with at-risk kids, you know, where the identity is multiple identities based on the audience? I think those are the people that are most successful in retirement, is ones who've cultivated interests outside of business, even though at times they couldn't devote themselves to Dr. Andrea's earlier point about, you know, remaining in touch with people. Even though you might have been building a business and it compromised your ability to coach kids or to become involved with a local nonprofit, you were still there in some way so that you can springboard off of that identity now that you don't have the business, and you can devote more time to those things. I think the people who suffer, like we said, are the ones who didn't have any of those interests and are now in their 70s trying to cultivate some sense of a tribe and where do I fit.
I got to tell you today, later in the late afternoon, I'm going to go see a client, and he asked me to come in and give him an estimate on a project. And he is a retired surgeon. And when he retired, he goes, I'm not staying home. So he went, he became a big brother. He's helping out a youngster. He would take him to dinners and all these different things and get involved in that kids. He started going to his basketball games. He started doing things, even though this man has 3 kids of his own. Right? But his kids have gotten, they're older now. They have their own families. So he goes, what am I doing around the house? Let me go help somebody who doesn't have a dad at home. Let me go help somebody who needs somebody to inspire them. So he's a surgeon, and he's talking to the kid about going to college. I think the kid's like 15 years old. He's teaching him how to, make sure his grades are good, helping him even with his homework and stuff of that nature. So it's involving himself, because he did not stop. The man is very well off, very well off. He's got so much property and so forth. And when he calls me over, he's like, hey, you know about that project that you did for me so many years ago? He goes, can you do that project at another property I have? I'm like, sure. And he goes, because I can't imagine having anyone else doing it, because of the relationship that we've built together, right? Because he knew that he can leave his house and I'm the trustworthy person that's going to be there to make sure that whatever's happening is happening. And when we build relationships, they last way past the project if we do them right.
Yeah, it allows people to have a different level of growth within themselves and with their community when they continue to expand out. I was thinking about what you said, Tom, and with when someone springboards, like you mentioned, if they were an attorney or a teacher or a fireman or a CPA or a garbage man, whatever, using those skills in whatever they used to do in the community but didn't have time for, where now they can do that in the community, I think really makes a big difference. Like, like I do a lot of theater. And so my husband, we have rental properties and stuff. So my husband volunteers as our kind of like our handyman's warehouse person at our theater, and he's done that for years. And and Tom's not retired, but we do own our own businesses, so he creates time to be able to give back and do that by using the things that he's really good at, and he has the tools and the knowledge for that. Where me, I'm more like in marketing and writing and publicity, and I volunteer that. And I have cut back my business drastically. And when I work with clients, and part of it is because I know I can, because of the knowledge that, and I'm sure you all have experienced this, because of the knowledge that you have, you get it done quicker. And the process of having it. And so that's where my fees increase, because I can do the same thing and get it done in 15 minutes than I did in an hour. But that's why I'm like, no, I'm not getting some hourly pay. That first of all, I hate working by hour, but if I'm going to, it's going to be way ridiculously high, because I can get it done like that. And then people who are skilled in what they're doing are able to do that. And especially if it's not if it's walking and running and you're unhealthy, or you're older or whatever, that might be different. But we're talking about your mental agility and the things that you can use your wisdom and knowledge to. You can just get it done faster. And that is super amazing. And now if you can take your knowledge and then use AI for it, now you can be even faster.
Yeah. So here's a fact that somebody told me, and I don't know the percentage, but when people retire within 2 to 3 years, X percentage wind up passing away. I'm not going to say, because I don't remember the exact percentage.
Sometimes it's 6 months, Terry.
Really?
Sometimes it's 6 months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I look at, and Rafael and I talked about this. I'm a stats guy. I'm a numbers guy. That's just the business I was in. I'm used to it, comfortable with it. But when I read statistics where 60% of the American population says they are fundamentally lonely, that loneliness is a constant companion, to me, that's dangerous. When I see a statistic that says 25% of men, think about that for a minute. Every time you meet a man, say this guy could be that 1 out of 4. 25% of men say that they have no close friends. 0. Nobody they could call in a crisis. Nobody that they can depend on if they're really in a bad situation. And you've got 1/4 of American men saying, I have no close friends. That's a recipe for disaster in my book.
Absolutely.
There is a division of things that happen, like when you're in a workplace and you have easy access to have people to talk to and to be around. And I have cut down my traveling quite a bit. So I'm by myself way more than I have been in a long time. And I had given up TV. I probably didn't watch TV for like 15 years. So I would watch movies and stuff periodically with my husband, but I wasn't ever watching TV every day or anything on my own. And if someone else was watching it, I might watch it with them, but it was not something I did. But in this last year, because I'm almost at my year anniversary of being diagnosed with colorectal cancer and overcoming that, during my recovery, I watched TV more because I was, you can only do so much on when you're fatigued out and tired, you can only do so much work before you just need to have something to entertain you or whatever. So I started watching television again. And now I find when I need a break, where I need someone else just to talk, and if I call a person, then they want me to engage with them, and then I want to hear about them, and I really need to just stop. And so I have found that TV works for me. So watching like 15 minutes of TV, where like I'm watching I forget what it's called, about the midwives, from the earlier century, and called The Midwife. So watching like a 15-minute of hearing these other people's stories and thinking of their lives and their healths and their situations allows me to think and process it. And while I'm watching it for entertainment, it's kind of a historical show as well. And then I'm thinking about like things in our lives and what we have access to and health and medicine. So it allows me to think as well. So that way, when I come back to my work, I feel like I've learned something and been cultured a little bit and so I don't feel like it's completely wasteful. But you're right, Sifu. People will do TV or whatever at great lopes of time, and then it's so sedentary. Television is a sedentary thing.
Right.
And, but at the same time, it could be very useful as a tool as well. Just depends on how we're using it and can we manage it, minimize it so it doesn't take over to reaching out to people. So I try to do a mix between the two.
No doubt, no doubt. I've been to people's homes who have the TV on all the time. Even when I'm there visiting, it's background noise. They put it on. I don't even know if they even turn it off. And somebody who I know who is retired, they golf, they go out with friends, they go to lunches and stuff like that. But then they were complaining about their subscription was $300 and somewhat for all the channels that they get and all those things. And being that I don't have a subscription to any of that stuff, I'm over there a little bit amused that he's complaining, but yet he continues to pay the bill because it's his, I'm not going to say downtime because the guy's retired. He does nothing else. Mm-hmm. So he chooses to maybe watch 6 or 8 hours of TV a day instead of, yes, he does once in a while go and play golf, but it's not an everyday thing. And somebody else that I know that's retired, they said, I'm not going to play golf every day. I got other things I have to do. So you have to, when we think about the growth, just because we retired, not me, but anyone else, you can still grow as a person. You can still grow in relationships because that's what we're talking about. And the growth in relationships is maybe pick up gardening, maybe go in and help out your neighbors, right? Like we've been talking about, because life is for living. We should live it.
I can't imagine the stagnancy among people. I mean, I think there's a certain security blanket to your friend who says, I have the TV on all the time. It's background noise. But I have people in my life that are 20 or 30 years younger than me. And you mention ChatGPT and they say, what's that? You mention AI and they say, I don't trust it. All the answers are wrong. Where do you get this information? It's baffling to me that people aren't a lot more disciplined about personal growth.
Absolutely. So we've come to that point where we actually are ending the show, and I know we can keep going because it's a hot, to me it's a hot topic, right? I love business, I love relationships. So Tom, being that your name is going across, why don't you go ahead and give us 45 seconds as what can somebody expect when they reach out to you, and then we'll go to Terry.
Well, I think the first thing is my book, The Business of Relationships, is on Amazon, and it's available on Barnes & Noble as well, and bookstores and various electronic outlets, Google Play, Apple Play. I think people reach out to me for, really one reason and one reason only, and that is, how do I get better at relationships? And how do I leverage the talents I have effectively to make those relationships that are most important to me better? And in my particular discipline, I try to say it's all about listening to people that are successful. And that's what the book is about. So
Love it. Thank you so much for that. Everybody make sure you connect with Tom. Terry, you're up, my dear.
I think the one thing that was not said is the most important relationship is with yourself. And to really develop that. And as a business and communications coach, and now embracing ageism and reinvention and pivoting in your careers, is what I offer my clients: mindsets, perspectives on how they can grow and develop and really become more of who they want to be. And that is about turning your eyes inward and looking at what stops you. Because most people really, they want relationships, but they do not have a relationship with themselves.
Perfect.
great.
And so everyone, make sure you reach out to Terry at trycoaching.com. Dr. Andrea, you're up.
Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller here. Reach out to me if you have interest in understanding how neuroscience can change your world and help to change your mindset on how you think, live, and function in the world. And if you're curious about how publicity can help you be seen and heard and give you the voice that you've always been looking for. So many times people don't realize how much the press and the media is a valuable tool to how you can expand upon yourself. And I always have courses and information and access to different stages and opportunities for people. And if you know me and talk to me regularly, those usually come out of my mouth more quickly. So, so call me, talk to me, connect with me, and you'll know all about what's in front of you.
Definitely connect with Dr. Andrea. She is a powerhouse, my friends. I'm Sifu Rafael, and what can I say? It's easy to find me, sifurafael.com. And here's the cool thing. I help people in all different areas of life because I believe that God told me that I need to help. So if there's any way I can be of help or service to you, reach out. If you even want to come and meet a bunch of incredible people like Terry and others who are going to be with us on September 14th, text New York City, NYC, 516-242-8732. And what can I say? If you found this show to be informative, do share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Maybe somebody who's retired and are looking to do something. Let them know retirement is not the end of your life. It's the beginning of the new. Ta-da! Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.